by Slimani.
What a goal from George Bulldog! Finished by Oliver Burnley.
What's happening, Blades? Welcome back to the Blades Ramble. And we're here again. We're here again in the comfort of my kitchen, as we're all used to now. There will be a time when we actually have a purpose-built place to do this. But for now, I'll continue to stay in the doghouse with my wife when I kick the whole family out so that I can do a live, which seems to be all the time at the moment. So what's been happening? So news has come out today that Sander is potentially going to be rejecting a contract offer from the Blades, and as it says on the title, potentially moving to Burnley. This has understandably upset a lot of people. The state of play with Sander is he's in the last 12 months of his contract. He repeatedly, and this is not something new, this is something that I've been talking about for a long time, and I know Darren's mentioned it previously as well. He has shown no interest to sign a contract, none at all. We chose to keep him rather than cash in on each window because he could have gone in every window pretty much. He was that keen to go, in my opinion. But we kept him because of the quality that he brought to the team, and it was the right decision in the end because we were promoted. Well, now we've got 12 months to run on his deal. There's an argument to say keep him, and I'm sure some of you may have that opinion. But if a player doesn't want to stay, then when do we start looking at the future of the club in terms of, you know, if we sold him now and get between 12 and 15 million for him, then we can get a replacement in now. Alternatively, we can keep him, and we are probably the bookies' favourites now to be relegated anyway with him in the squad. So you assume that becomes true and we go down. Well, we've lost 12 million quid there that were sitting there ready for us to use on a player or players that could improve us. And they're not going to be Sander's quality, but we could have Sander for a year, or we could have a Lewis O'Brien for 4 or 5. So I think this is the right deal for the club. Not the thing that really upsets me about it, though, and upsets all of us, and I assume it'll be people at the club as well, is the timing. The timing is awful. We're 5 days out from the first game, and only now does he come to us and says, I want to go. Or that's what I'm assuming's happened anyway. It's absolutely disgusting. And yes, the club have a part to play in this in terms of getting a replacement lined up, but we don't know that they haven't got a replacement lined up. We've heard rumours about Sousa coming in. I think that'd be a brilliant signing for us. Burnley are rumoured to be interested in him. Could we say to Burnley? I saw one of the reports today saying, could we potentially say to Burnley, well, you can have Sander for an agreed fee, but we want you to pull out of the Sousa race and we'll get a straight run at Sousa. Because Sousa's a beast, and absolutely he's just what we've been lacking really in terms of breaking up play and giving it simple. Really, I think he'd be a really strong addition. But at the minute, we're massively undercooked, and we look like we're going to struggle on Saturday. I can take that a little bit, even though these are winnable games, the first two, Palace at home and Forest away. I can take it a little bit if we know, and this I believe this to be the case, but if we know that we're going to be strong come the end of the window, it's a big if. It's a big if, and we are up against it. But in terms of looking to the future of the club, I rate this. I would cash in on Sander because, well, I think he's got off so lightly because of the big cloud over Illiman and Dye. I think Sander's gone under the radar in terms of, at least Illiman came to the table to talk to us. Some might see it as he was dangling carrot to us a little bit, Illiman. But I genuinely think Illiman were in two minds at one stage. I don't think Sander is. I think Sander, as he has done nearly every window, says, I want to see what's out there, and if an offer's good enough, I'm going. So I'm going to jump into your comments now, and this will mostly be reactionary, and I'll feed off your comments because I haven't got any news. I can't confirm or deny who's coming, who's not. I can let you know on little bits that I've already talked about, really, but we'll see. If you won't sign a contract, says Gaz, let him go and reinvest in the squad. I absolutely agree. I think that's definitely the best thing we can do. We're just to get up against it for time, aren't we? That's the only issue. But there's not what we can do about that now. On again, Jimmy lad, you love doing lives. Might see you tomorrow night to do it all again. Keep up the good work. See you tomorrow night. Yeah, you might do. You might do, yeah, depending on what happens. You know, it's one of them in it there. Love watching you up the blaze. Thanks, pal. Let him go. We just need to definitely buy 2 top midfielders and get a good loan midfielder. Well, I think the loan targets will be of a higher quality. That's generally what you have to go for in the loan market. But they'll likely come a little bit later, won't they, as the bigger clubs decide the squad. Bye-bye, Sander, says Illy. Chirac, always about. Stu says, really cannot see Sander going to Burnley. He'd be mad. I agree. I get him wanting to go if it was a bigger opportunity, say a Liverpool, but to go to Burnley, who, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, they've done more business than us. They finished above us last year, so you probably put them slightly higher favourites than us to stay up, but not by much. Not by much. Good chance he's seen the writing on the wall, gone from strength to weakness in a week. Need a miracle now. Keep your eyes peeled. I don't know where it could come from at the moment, says Craig. Craig, you're right. We're very weak at the minute. The only thing I could say is it's amazing how we sort of go in cycles into it as fans. And we've done it as a fan base just this week alone. Like over the last week or so, Illiman looked like he was staying and we're elated. And then he goes and we're down and that's it. We're relegated. We're done. That's it. We're never coming back. We're rubbish. And then the Prince does his interview on the Sheffield United way and people appear to be a little bit more positive because we heard about a couple of players that we're interested in and things are moving. Don't worry about it. And now this Sander news comes in and we're down again. Well, I'll put my neck on line and say, we may well hear some names come out over the next few days that makes people go, oh, actually, if we get these, we might be all right. And the best thing about that is the ones that we bring in, certainly the permanent deals, will be on a long-term basis. We're not going to get into this issue where, you know, that they're not committed to the club, essentially. You never know, says Craig, just putting a little bit of positivity in there. I love that. Club's a joke at the minute. Went from a top championship club to a bottom half championship club overnight. We haven't got a good squad at the minute. I'm not going to try and spin it, Major Chronic. I'm not here to, you know, defend one side of things. I'll call it as I see it. It's my opinion that I think this is the right move for the club. But I also acknowledge that right now, in the short term, in the immediate, we look very weak. I can't say anything other. Buy 2 top midfielders with the Burnley and we'll pay for him. Okay. I've got Nick trying to call me, so I hope that doesn't knock my camera off. Let me know if you can still see me. Another greedy so-and-so. Good riddance. Gaza, I'm not a fan of his attitude. I don't know whether you can tell that, but that's where I am at the moment, unfortunately. I've got 501 people in. That's most I can remember. So thank you to everybody that's jumped in. If you can all subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. We are trying to get to 5K before Christmas. And we're just trying to, you know, keep growing as a channel. So I appreciate you all jumping in and like the video as well. It helps the algorithm. If you like what we do. J&A challenges. I can see the logic of selling Berger, so we get something for him, but we're leaving ourselves fatally exposed for August. Absolutely agree. We'd better be confident we can get some good players in and quickly. I think we are. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. But again, there's been talks all the time, and we have got players lined up to replace him. The Prince talks about that in terms of we've got scenarios for A, B, C, and D, but when he turns around 5 days before kickoff and says, I want to go to Burnley, then it leaves you short on time, doesn't it? No Illiman, no Berger, no McAtee, no Doyle. That was our championship midfield, and that still wanted strengthening for the Premier League. Get your heads out of the sand because we're in a real mess. I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't disagree that we're in a mess at the minute. In terms of the first team, the squad, essentially, is not where it needs to be at all. Not where it needs to be. Sander blows hot and cold. When he blows hot, he's fantastic. But when he wants to leave the lane, let him go. Unlike Illiman, he can be replaced. Absolutely. I think this hits nail on the head, to be honest. I absolutely agree with that, Michael. Sanderberg, nobody can... You'd be lying if you said he's not a great player on his day, because he is. He's one of the best we've got. And you could argue he's certainly now the best that we've got when he's on form. But for me, that were a little bit few and far between. And the other thing with Sander is he's not always fit. He's injury prone quite a bit for me. And if we take the risk of keeping him and sort of kissing away 12 million quid, there's no guarantee that he stays fit for the full season. I'm usually an optimist, but I'm struggling today. Really need to show some momentum to give us hope back. Absolutely. The thing is, Jane, we beat Palace, and I think it turns again, doesn't it? The atmosphere. So, and that's football. That's why we love it. We're absolutely balmy, aren't we, as football fans? But Jimmy, I really hope you know something that us Blades don't, because it's not looking good. I'll tell you what I know, Al. I'll tell you what I'm able to share. All this panic, I've moved on from Illy, says Stu, and I will do the same with Sander. We will bring players in who want to play for us. Come on, you red and white wizards. Stu, you've hit nail on head. And I think this is a little bit, to put it in very simplistic terms, I think it's a little bit like short-termism versus long-term. And the big argument from the short-termism in terms of we're losing Sander is, and it's a very valid point, I have to say, we're in the Premier League. We need to do everything we can to stay in the Premier League, because that gives us a stronger foundation for longevity, and it does, absolutely. But I would say the long-term is perhaps more of a realist and less of a risk taker. And the long-term would say, well, it's unlikely that we'll stay up. That doesn't mean we're giving up, but we've got to be realistic in what challenges we face now. We've had a terrible few years in terms of the relegate from the COVID season. The money that we've lost in the club because of keeping the playing squad together and then failing to get back up. All this money that got taken away from the COVID season because obviously football stopped. It's all affected us. And now we've got a chance to reset as a club, and we can get players in on longer contracts. You know, Ollie Norwood, for example, out of contract at the end of this season. If we get relegated, yes, we know he's a good championship player, but is he going to be 33 then? So would you want him in the middle, or would you want to get somebody in now like a Lewis O'Brien? And I'm just using him as plucking an example out of the air. If we replace Sander with Lewis O'Brien, then he's definitely with us next season, no matter what league we're in. And he's already proven to be a very good championship player. So I think there's merit to both arguments. I'm not sitting on one side of the fence or other. Didn't know Burnley was Sander's boyhood club. Exactly, Graham. Who knew? Last time we were in the Prem, we had Bash, Ender, Norwood, Fleck, Lundstrom, all in their prime. Look at what we've got now. Yeah, that's true. Probably because we were actually a team back then. We were. The great Prince and his squad, the gift that keeps on giving. Prince out, says Chirac. Can't blame the Prince, according to Stu. So, yeah, we've got different opinions, and everybody's entitled to that. If players don't want to be here, how do we keep them happy? Absolutely right, Stu. Absolutely right. It's the same scenario as Illiman. If they don't want to be here, then we don't want him here, do we really? You know, if his head's down or his head's turned, then Sander will not go to Burnley. I think there's a chance he will, Trond. I think there's a chance he might. Mr. Vancouver, welcome, pal, one of our Ramblers. I'm not that disappointed if Sander moves on, if we can bring in O'Brien, Akpom, maybe Sousa, and 2 really good loans. I don't think that's far-fetched, you know. I'm not saying it'll be those specific players. So Sousa looks like he's getting closer from what we're hearing. Akpom, we know we've been talked about. I don't know if O'Brien's going to be the name in the mix. Might be Doyle. Could be somebody else because we've got more money now. And 2 really good loans, I think is achievable. If we got those 5 in, for example, would we be happy? Because I would. I would be happy with that. The 2 good loans for me would be another centre midfielder and an attacking midfielder. And I think we're okay then. I think we're all right. I'd like a keeper, but I'm desperate times now, aren't we? Maybe he goes to La Liga or Serie A when the time comes. I think he'll go to Burnley. How long have we known he wouldn't sign a new contract? So why last minute sale as if we're not in the doldrums as it is, says Anne. Fair point, Anne. Very fair point. I think we were sort of, well, if we don't have a bid, then we can't sell, can we? But we should have a replacement lined up. And from what I'm told, we do. But he's only telling us now, I want to talk to Burnley 5 days before it starts at season. If he wanted to go, why didn't he tell us 2 months ago? And then we start negotiations and he can be in their squad from day one. So I think there's a part to playing it on both sides. But you're right. You're right. Why aren't we planning for this inevitability and gearing up for it properly? Sell Sander now. He's still not signed a new deal. Bring in Doyle, Souza, and a loan, McAtee, or another promising attacking midfielder. That's a positive move for me. I agree, School, but it's just time, isn't it? We're against the clock here. 592 people here. Thank you for this. Again, please subscribe if you're not already. If you're enjoying the video and you like what we do, and do like it as well, just because it gets it to more eyes. Hopefully he'll stay with United. Can't see it, Tron. I don't think he wants to. I mean, I've been talking about it loosely for the last few seasons. I've only been on less than a year, but I know, and I've mentioned it before, that he's been flirting with other clubs for a long time. He doesn't show the required commitment for me, and he's got off lightly, particularly coming towards the end of his contract, that Illiman was a bigger star than him, and sort of superseded the fact that he was not even coming to talk to us. O'Brien's a poor move, says let's talk more play. What? Do you not rate O'Brien? I like Lewis O'Brien. He's certainly not on the level of Sander Berge, but he's a very good championship player. And I think he's a little bit like we are as a club. I think he might be a little bit too good for the championship and not quite there for the Premier League. And that's my honest opinion of where we are. I think he's a Sheffield United player. I'd much rather have Doyle for the next 4 years than keep Sander for one. Exactly, Scuba. Far too many panicking when the window isn't over yet. It's not, but I think people's concern, and it's justified, people's concern is that we've got 2 winnable games, very winnable games, and particularly going to Forest. You'd hate for them to turn us over because we weren't ready for season. And it's like chucking away them opportunities of vital points. When players see the chairman have no ambition, why would players with ambition want to stay at a club with no ambition? Tell me how many times you can say ambition in one sentence, Chirac. Chirac. I can never know how to say your name, pal. Sorry. It starts from the top, setting an example. The Prince wants out, so the players do too. I don't think the players are following Prince in terms of wanting to get out. Prince is ruining us right now. Says, let's talk more players. Selling up, then going to do a runner. Well, he actually said he wants to stay at the club in some capacity in a minority. That's certainly his preferred option. He's not saying he wouldn't sell us 100%. So to me, that would say he's got a vested interest in the club being strong going forward. I haven't seen anyone in our country wanting to come yet. And Forest or Burnley are wanting who we want to. Yeah, that's right. That's right. They're the new Villa, aren't they, I think? Swooping in when we've done our due diligence. People believe it's all talk. I want the best for the club. Looks like it. About all I want for the best for the club. It looks like it. Why come to United if you're not going to be here long term? He doesn't even know that much about football. Well, I disagree on nearly every point there. I think if you listen to him talk in Sheffield United Way interview, I think he's very switched on about football. I'm not necessarily saying he knows all players ins and outs because he didn't go into that sort of detail. But in terms of how the game works and how the business works, I think he's quite switched on in that regard. He's been at the club 10 years, so he has been here long term. That's also what I'd say. And why wouldn't he want for the best? If he was here for his own personal gain, then surely if he's going to be out by the end of the season, he keeps Sander and has a better chance of staying up. So the price is potentially higher and the assets there. So it don't work out for me. I know I'm not saying you haven't got good points in terms of being unhappy with the situation, but for me, it don't always stack up. That 638 people here, unbelievable. I think this is the highest one we've done. So thank you to everyone. My concern is the first few games. I'm confident we'll get some good players in before the window, but momentum is massive. And three of the 4 games we need to be looking at taking points from. Absolutely, Ruben. You're absolutely right. And thank you. He's one of our Ramblers. If you want to become a Rambler, then there's a link in the description. $2.99 a month. You get exclusive access and content and all that sort of stuff. Let us know how you really feel, Chirac, and I'll put it up on screen, pal. Looks like we've got Souza and Berger's definitely gone now. I don't know if that's been released in the last few minutes or what, but Prince out, he says, dearie me. There's a few not happy. I know today's news is deflating, but I honestly think come the end of the window, we'll be a lot stronger squad. We certainly will be, John. The problem we've got is we were never going to be, as soon as Illiman went, we were never going to be as strong at the end of the window as we were when we came up. And that's a justified argument for people. But we can't replace Illiman and Die with one player. So I agree. I think we'll be a stronger squad. But we haven't got his true value from the sale, and we won't get Sanders' true value from the sale. So you can't replace, even with a couple of quality players, because it's either going to be a risk from foreign shores or, an expensive free transfer in terms of wages. Can this rubbish of a pre-season get any worse? Club clearly asset stripping, beginning to feel like giving Saturday a miss and staying in the boozer. I'm going to let somebody else have a bit of a say, lads, because you're going mad in comments, which I appreciate your point of view. Big shout out from Kiev, Jimmy. Thank you, Nazim. Never miss an episode. Thank you, pal. I appreciate that. Congratulations on the channel. Up the blades. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. This one's going to be tasty. This Ramble's going to, is it? Well, I think because people are split. Aren't they, Sean? People are split on their opinion, and I understand it. I hope due diligence has been done and players can be moved in immediately. Me too, Jeff. Me too. That's a big thing, isn't it? We need to be able to push the button now. We want players that can pull the red and white stripes on Saturday. So they've got to be fit. They've got to be cleared. They've likely got to be domestic, haven't they? Let's be right, because you don't want a visa issue. We need players in last week. Has he definitely gone, says Cole? Not yet. But it's looking more and more likely. Listen, it's not a done deal. We're talking about him like he's gone. I'd more like to hear your opinions on whether he should go or not, because until it's done. Just shows his ambition joining Burnley. Could understand City exactly, Kipper. I thought same. It's a strange move for me. Absolutely strange move. Let's all calm down. All the negative posts were all doomed. I tell you, don't panic. Don't panic. We all have our own opinions. Mine is to wait and see who comes in. Well said, David. Well said, mate. I think I would agree. It's easy for us to say when we've got a bit more of a cool head, and people are just passionate, aren't they? So I understand it, but yeah, I would say it's not over yet, is it? We've got another 3 weeks. If Sander doesn't want to sign, then let him go. We only want players who want to play for the club, and we'll give 100%. This is the boat I'm in as well. I'm absolutely in there. David's spot on, says Stu. We always leave everything to the last minute. It's going to be a panic buy. We are leaving it later and later, but I think that element of time is player driven. So Sanders come to us possibly today by the looks of it and said, I want to go to Burnley. We can't do it about that. We then, even though we've got a replacement lined up and we might have spoken to the club and agreed the fee, they've still got to come in and do the medical. We've still got to finalise personal terms or whatever it might be. And then there might have been another club in for that guy who we've identified. So you have to go to plan C. It won't be a panic buy, but you've got to weigh up what's better. If you've got a Doyle and a Lewis O'Brien, for example, and you think they're very similar players, then if Doyle's available, but O'Brien's more expensive or all the way around, you've got to make a choice at some stage, haven't you? And it's not a panic buy. It's just looking at the options that you've got and making a choice because time's against us. Don't get the O'Brien love in, really don't. That's fine, Sean. That's fine, mate. I've watched him at Huddersfield quite a lot and I just rate him as a player, but don't mean everybody's gonna. It's only an opinion. Evening, Jimmy. Buckle up, says Susan, another one of our Ramblers. Thank you for your support, Susan. We have a laugh, don't we, every now and again in that group. Before Ndiaye gone, we'd spent 11 million max. That means we should have around 9 million minimum. But now Ndiaye and Berger money is definitely getting spent, so we should see 40 million spent. We'll see a lot of money spent, I think. What I won't be doing is trying to announce how much we've got or work out how much we've got in an open forum. I'm not saying you can't put it here. I'm not, nobody's going to particularly see this from a rival club or anything, but I think confirming budgets and sort of letting other teams know how much we've got, it just isn't smart business, is it? So, but there's money there for replacements. That's clear, absolutely clear now. Can't be selling players to relegation rivals. End of. Illiman's off to play in the Champions League football. You can't begrudge him that, but to move to a genuine rival, madness. Absolutely, I don't get it. I just don't get Sanders' mindset here. From what I understand, from what I know, we've offered him a very good contract. And listen, it's easy for me to sit here and say that, and people think, "Oh, yeah," but we have. I can't imagine Burnley offering him more. Put it that way. I'm not saying they won't match it, but I can't imagine them offering him more. And what's the added benefit of going to Burnley? Maybe a slightly higher chance of survival, but I don't understand it. Even if you went to a Crystal Palace, for example, it was not going to go down, but they're not going to really challenge for Europe, we don't think. Burnley, I don't understand. Everyone should stop with the negative comments. For me personally, it's great news. Timing for some is shocking, but let him go. Better now than next year. Absolutely, Forrest. I agree, pal. I agree. If that's the height of Berger's ambition to play in that rubbish place, Burnley, let him go and good luck to him, says Michael. Absolutely agree. It was done on a ZX special. Feels like we've been relegated, not promoted. I know that it's a negative. Listen, when you sell your two best players, Matt, it's going to have that sort of feeling about it, isn't it? I think we were always destined to hit this brick wall in terms of making a very difficult decision. So when on promotion, we lost our two loan stars, as we know, Tommy Doyle and McAtee. We knew then we couldn't get them both back on loan because they're from the same club. So we knew we weren't going to see at least one of them unless we bought them, which looks optimistic. And then Illiman and Sander, we chose to keep in the Championship. That was a conscious decision. We could have sold them for more when they had more time to run on the deal. Could have got more money in. But I believe, and I think the club obviously thought the same, if we'd have sold Illiman and sold Sander then and brought in whatever, say we get 40 million from both, whatever replacements we bring in, that's fine, but we might not get promoted. Illiman and Sander played a huge part in us getting promoted. And now we've got the cash windfall of not only the Premier League to clear the decks and get rid of all the debts of the club from carrying those last 2 years of financial turmoil. We also get fees in for both of them. Granted, not what they're worth, but we get fees in and with the chance to reset the whole club. We're always going to have to make a difficult decision on these two. If we'd have kept Illiman and Sander and still gone down, it's a disaster for us. This way, we're a lot of money better off. A lot of money. And it's not all about money, but Illiman, we had no choice. And once you've lost Illiman, like a few have already said, I think Sander's replaceable. Illiman's not. Last season, I'm going to buy a season ticket if the Prince remains in charge, and I've been a support for the last 50 years, says Chris. Well, that's unfortunate, mate. That's unfortunate, and you're entitled to your opinion. Burnley, really, says Hyder. I know. We've still got Fleck. Yeah, we have. I'm honestly scared for Saturday. We're down to the bare bones with a team that would struggle in the Championship. We are down to bare bones, mate. We are. There's no two ways about it. Mike Hudson, cannot for the life of me see where we're going to get the 11 points from next. Get 11 points from. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. Newcastle supposedly interested in Berger too. That I could understand. I don't think he walks into their 11, if I'm honest. But I could understand him going to a team like Newcastle on the up. Evening, Frank. Halfway to 5K. We're not far off. 2-4, I think we're at. So if any of our 656 people in here who aren't subscribed could subscribe, it'd be very much appreciated. If you're liking what we're doing, get a bidding war going. Yeah, a chance to be a fine thing when it's Sean. Bad timing, but he doesn't want to be here. So get some cash, says Sean, and try to strengthen the squad with the players who do want to be here. I'm absolutely of this opinion. Nobody is bigger than the club. Illiman came close, don't get me wrong. And I can understand the huge devastation when he left. Sander Berger, who sometimes strolls about it. Listen, Sander, and I don't mean to be, it's not looking through a different perspective than many people, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's had, when he plays well, he's brilliant and potentially best player on the field, but that's way too few and far between. He doesn't track back. He can't tackle. He can't head the ball for somebody who's 6'9". It's just, he's very good. He's like a Rolls Royce when he gets going. And when he zooms past players, when he's dribbling, it's like men against boys sometimes. And it's a pleasure to watch. But he's too inconsistent. Too inconsistent. What's a flubber fleck? Get Bash and Asula up front on Saturday. I think that's all we've got left. Oh, to be a blade, says Daz. I've seen you more this week than the missus, Jimmy. Hope you're well. I'm good, thank you, pal. And I'm sorry for my mug being on so much, but we have to get it out, don't we? We have to sort of vent our frustration somehow. Typical Matt Costello. We'll have to watch him then, will we, Jack? I'll keep an eye out for that. We've sold 2 players. The transfer window isn't closed yet. People are talking about never going to the footy again. Listen, we're certainly not going to turn on each other in comments. People are entitled to their opinion. And I get people feel strongly about this. But I don't think Sander's shown us any loyalty, personally, throughout his time with us. I'm not saying he don't play well for us and he don't put it in when he's on field, because he does. But I don't think he's a blade. I don't think he's a blade. He's more Ramsdale than he is Illiman, put it that way. Not impressed. Let him go. Too gormy, full stop. Takes him 2 or 3 seconds to realise balls at his feet, get rid. Just had enough of all best players leaving. How the hell are we going to survive? We bring in players who want to be here, pal. We bring in players who want to be here. Bit of a nightmare, all this, says Lee. Yes, pal. Yeah, it is. And Alan hits the nail on the head. Why not 2 months ago? Why not 2 months ago? Maybe Burnley had different targets at that stage and they've potentially missed out on. So Sanders maybe 3rd or 4th on the list. And then as soon as they flutter their eyelids at him, he wants to go. Don't get it. Baffles me how sales escalate quickly within 24 hours, yet we never seem to sign players like that. It takes us weeks. Absolutely, pal. Have Burnley got a vendetta? Do they want McAtee and Doyle last season or something? Wake me up in 12 months. I'll wait you up, pal. Don't worry. Selling Berger for 12 million is a bargain, and it hurts more. It's like being a step up from us. Technically, they are, because they're being more ambitious. We need around 7 players coming in. I don't think you're far wrong there, to be honest, Millville. I think certainly 6, probably 7. Sandro will play a few games and get injured. We're not missing him anyway. Get the money now, get better, and more reliable players who actually want to play for the club. I agree completely. Hey, pal, awful day. Jebo's injured. I heard a little rumour about this. Jebo injured. There's a couple of players wishing him well. Hope that's not too serious. Berger linked with a league rival. If we need to receive money, I get we need to receive money if he doesn't want to sign. We need to reinvest daily money and his when he goes fast. Absolutely, we do. And that is the time to come on and criticise, isn't it, if we don't spend the money. And I'm conscious that it needs to happen. We need to be spending some money now. Club Bruges, with some of the 12 million, so we might only get 8 million for that price. Surely it's worth a gamble instead of O'Brien. Are you sure Club Bruges owed some money? Middledale? I'm not entirely sure on that. When was the interview made with the Prince? Since then, Berger's on the verge of leaving. How come teams expect to get deals? How can teams expect to do deals so quickly? The interview with Prince were on Friday, and I believe it's all come about in the last 24 hours or so, this. And that is super quick, isn't it, Matt? Did not buy a season ticket for this season because of the Prince. I'm standing on my views about how this club is run. He ain't getting my cash. Okay, pal. And that's absolutely, I'm not trying to persuade you otherwise. Sell him if he doesn't want to be here and get someone who wants to be here up the blades. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've no issue with him rejecting a new deal. If he wants out, that's fine. One of the most overrated players ever at the Lane. And I know he splits opinion anyway, does Sander. I think you can't doubt his quality, but I certainly think he's inconsistent. Don't get the hype with Lewis O'Brien. Is he really that good? No, he isn't, Mike, in terms of he's not going to... I wouldn't want you to expect him to come in and blow us away or be a better or on a par with Sander. What he is, though, is a grafter. He works the ball well in midfield. He's not got the game time. He's not got any game time at Forest, really, has he? Because they had no strategy and bought him and just wasted him. He was Huddersfield's main man when they did really well in Championship. I just think he'd be a really solid addition for us. And he's certainly a very, very good Championship player, even if he's not had a chance to prove himself at Premier League level. Tosh Jimmy, says Rodney. Forest won't sell O'Brien on the cheap to a rival. We, however, capitulate. Asset stripping. I think they would sell to us, Rodney. I'm not saying they sell to us cheap. I don't think they will. I think they'll hold for a high price. I'm saying why not? If we're getting money for Berger now and we want O'Brien, I'd prefer Doyle to O'Brien. I'm just using O'Brien as an example. And there'll be other players that we've got, like we've seen all foreign players come in. But I think now we need to be buying a fairly established name to satisfy. And from what I'm hearing and what Darren's reporting as well, the signings that come in now will immediately impact the first team. We've sort of made our signings based on potential in terms of development for the long-term strategy. The ones that we sign now will still be young, but they will be. If you look at Sousa, for example, if we pull this Sousa deal off, he is a first teamer all day long. And he's just what we need for the first team as well. We just need a lot more holes plugging now, other than bringing just him on. Stell says, Eon, absolutely. He's Norwegian, playing for Burnley next season. Another player leaving the Bladesmen. It's Sanderberg. So there you go. That's because 684 of you are here. I'm only singing to say thank you for all joining us. Sheffield United FTV says 10.3 mil fee agreed for Sousa. It's less according to Alan Nixon. Thoughts? Apparently a 10 million bid is being readied by TalkSport. First thing, TalkSport won't have a clue what's going on. They'll pilfer other sites for news from my experience. And, I'm not saying they don't get odd thing right. 10.3, I don't know. I don't know what the fee is. I don't even know if it's all been sorted yet. I know a few little bits, but it's not done. It's not done, but if it's not him, it'll be somebody else. We will get this money spent on good players who want to be here. It's still our choice who we sell him to, though, isn't it? Strengthening a relegation rival is the worst thing, not the selling. Absolutely, Oliver, it is. But if there's only Burnley in, then who else? What do we say? I mean, we can offer him to other clubs and say Burnley have come in with 12 million or 15 million or whatever they've come in with. But if nobody else wants to buy, I think there's a strong rumour, and I certainly can't confirm this because I don't know if I can't ever remember if it's Berger or Anel. But I think it was Berger that got the matching rights or that we negotiated with Liverpool on the Brewster deal, that we get matching rights for. If we sell Berger, we notify Liverpool and they get option to come in if they want. So they clearly haven't made a move. Cashing on Berger, cash-wise, he gets us Sousa and someone else. We need numbers desperately. Absolutely, Phil. Completely agree, pal. He didn't look overly happy at Stuttgart game. He never looks happy to me. Listen, he smiles every now and again when he knows he's on camera, but I'm not a fan. As you probably guessed. Fan of him as a footballer, I just think he's a bit snaky, and that's just my opinion. Evening, Jimmy. It's the Illiman situation again in many respects. He won't sign the contract, sell him, bring in a replacement and build the squad. We need to be looking long-term. I completely agree, Kristen, but I also agree with those that are thinking, oh my God, we've got 4 out of 6 home games coming up. Yes, we play City in that mix, but we have got a big opportunity to get points on board here and we're going to miss it because we're not going to be strong enough. And we're not at the minute, are we? We're not strong enough. But I would also plan 700 people here. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. I don't always pander like this, I promise. Well, I do a little bit, but yeah, madness. Thank you, everybody. He plays one great game in 10. I'd be happy for him to go, says Dave. I'd agree. So inconsistent. Maybe it's Stuttgart game made up his mind. Maybe so, Matt. Maybe so. It's a good deal for the club if we get our targets, but seems like a big if, to be honest, Jimmy. It does. Loads of work to do now, Ian. Loads of work. That's not lost on me at all. Craig says, could be Bull. Why would he want to go to Burnley? That's the puzzling bit for me. That's really puzzling bit. Unbelievable. Get rid of Sander and Jebo. Bring in Doyle. Absolutely right, Neil. I would do that. I'd bring in Doyle and Akpom that we've been linked to as well. I think, and get a couple of loans, domestic loans in sort of attacking positions. I think that's spot on. Don't think he'll be missed as much as people think. Sell now as he clearly wants out, and let's get someone else in who wants to be here. It's just Paul, I could not be more on the same wavelength. Like O'Brien, to be fair, and heard a little rumour about Anel, but I think it's just smoke and mirrors. Somebody circulated an old Anel rumour about him going to Newcastle. Anel is going nowhere. Do not worry about any more players going out the door that we don't want to go. It were just these two, and admittedly, our two key players. Good riddance to him. Talk about loyalty. Take me back 40 plus years ago. Football stinks now. Gazza, this is what irks me. There's no loyalty in the game. No, nothing. He could have signed a contract with us, a very healthy contract that in similar conditions to what the Prince were talking about, Illiman, without revealing too much. But he'd have walked away, even at the end of next season, in a very strong position, I think. I'm no problem with losing Berger. We're on the verge of losing our two best players and nobody in their place. We should have a replacement in before he goes. I also agree the timing is horrendous. You're right, Chris. You're right. In an ideal situation, and probably in terms of the overall planning, we should have a replacement lined up. No doubt about it. The question is, why do these quality players want to leave? The club should have been proactive and offloaded at the start of the window. Yeah, but you're right, Blue Yonder, in a lot of ways. But Illiman only wanted to leave when Marseille finally turned his head, and that didn't happen initially. Sander is the anomaly for me in this. I think it's such a strange one, such a strange case. Going to Burnley. Sousa, O'Brien, Akpom, and says Chris, I'd be happy with that. Sell Sander, bring in Doyle and Sousa with the money. Happy days. I'd be happy with that, Scuba. Really happy. Why can't we seem to keep our stars? I know Illy's different, but it's not a good look to prospective players. It's not, Kyle. You're right. And it's not good for the existing squad in terms of the morale either. Losing our two best players, this is their livelihood. They're seeing two of our best chances of staying up, walking out. So I'm not trying to spin this in any way that it's, don't worry, it's all going to be all right. I do trust the management and the board essentially to get replacements in. But it doesn't mean it's great that they're going at all. I'd rather Sander stayed and signed a new deal, but knowing what I hear about him, that was never going to happen. It could be a good window by the end if we get the players in. It could, Ian. It could, but have we missed an opportunity then to get some points on the board? Can't let Sander go in December. Feel it's a bit soon now. Can't we let Sander go? I think you mean Kyle. It seems a bit soon now with no squad depth. If he wants to go, though, it's really difficult. It's really difficult. It's a fair deal. I think we should trust Eki. I agree. Sell him if he wants to go, says Eon. Get the money in and bring in some more players. There's a lot of similar to this. Spoke about this so many times, haven't we, Jimmy? Sander totally under the radar because everyone was wrapped up in the Illy saga. Let him go. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. He can go for me. If you don't want to be here, off your pop. Scott says, really upset right now. Two best players sold 1 week before kickoff. Scott, completely understandable, mate. I'm upset as well. I can't say any other. We stand a much better chance in this league with Illiman and Sander in the team. There's no getting around that. Time is not great, but rather we get a fee and a replacement rather than the leave for free. Take the money and invest in Akpom and whomever. Absolutely. And that might happen. That might happen. Sander's not quite a DM and not quite an offensive midfielder. Leaving could give us better balance. Absolutely. There's a lot of people, Johnny, me included, that think he doesn't really fit into our system. We've met him, and because he's such a good player, to be fair to him, he's sort of utilised his strengths or tried to highlight his strengths by going forward and things of that nature. But it took him a long time to adapt, and I don't think he'll be that difficult to replace. It's going to cost a lot of money, potentially. I'm honestly not impressed, Jimmy. I kind of understand if we let him go to keep Illy, but we're having our pants down if we go into the season with all three most creative players from last season gone. Yeah, Wolfgang, there's no getting around it, mate. No getting around it. You're not far off at all. He's been told to sign the contract or don't play. Only reason why people are not having a go at the Prince is because they can't bite the hand that feeds them. Are you sure? Sign the contract or don't play? I'm not sure where that's come from, pal. I mean, listen, it may have been said. I'm not. I don't think it has, if I'm honest, from what I'm hearing. If Sanders replaced with a couple of decent players, then I'm on board with this. Sousa sounds like it, but still need others. Doyle, yeah, absolutely. I'd have Tommy Doyle back. I'd definitely have. We are a laughing stock, says Mo. It don't look good from the outside in, does it? It doesn't look good. Bladesman says you heard the Carlos Baleba. Once seen it on the tweet from France regarding it. I've heard the name mentioned today. A couple of people have mentioned him to me. Good player. I haven't seen him linked with. I haven't known him to be talked about in our circles, if you like, only from what I've seen online. I'm not saying it's not likely and that I won't be up for it. I think were he linked to Man U? It might have been last season, but good player. I wouldn't be surprised if this was pushed by the club. We know we aren't going to stay up and we aren't even trying to stay up, sell anything worth the money. I believe it's called asset stripping. I can tell you, G-Blade, that this is not a club decision in terms of, well, ultimately it is, because obviously they decide whether to sell or not. Like Illiman, you can hold players to their contract, but is it healthy? Well, if they come to you and say, I want to go, I don't think so. But it's the Burnley thing that just... In between us, reference from Matt. I've got a lot of time for this. When people say I like football, I say yes, but not Burnley. Burnley can F off. Brilliant, Will McKenzie. Also, mate, if Sheffield United come close to 10 million for O'Brien, we're being robbed. Yeah, he's not worth 10 million. Wasn't worth that when Forest paid it. I think Forest paid 8. I think they got him and Toffolo for 10, didn't they? And he's still sat for half a season, then gone to play in a pub league. And he went to MLS to play for DC United, for those that don't know. But yeah, you stand out for a pub team, though. Susan is a real midfield general, according to what I've seen on YouTube. How were you then, Stephen? But highlight packages can be deceiving, but I'm very pleased with what I've seen of him as well. I'll give you that. Can't be a career move. Probably his agent approaching clubs for a payday. Mark, you may well be onto something there, my friend. You may well be onto something. You are bang on the money there. Bang on the money. Benny Traore. Okay. Makes no sense at all to sell Berger to Burnley. Berger could end up in the same position again. Long contract with a relegated club. For me, says Tim, Sander has been too inconsistent and some games great, more often fairly anonymous. Absolutely right, pal. Completely agree. Adam, thank you. Welcome to the Ramblers Club. If anybody else wants to become a Rambler, feel free. You will get access to everything below, actually. Exclusive content, active discussion on content in terms of what we're going to be doing going forward. And if I have any guests on or anything like that, you're involved in putting questions together and what we want to ask them. You've also got option of joining our exclusive WhatsApp group as well. So thank you for your support. It means a lot. And it does help this channel grow. Really appreciate it. Adam Flowers is rumoured. Jack and Matt are just having their own little banter session, aren't they? I think in our comments. But that's what we're here for, lads. Let's lighten the mood. I'm good with that. Disappointment after disappointment, says Andrew. Lately, when are we going to have some positivity? I fear for this season. Great videos. Keep going. Thank you, pal. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hello, says Scott. Sorry, Jimmy. Is that for ringing me while I'm on a live stream, Nick? Yeah. Unbelievable. If you'd have knocked my camera off, I wouldn't have been happy. He always had one foot out the door. Yes, he did, Paul. Absolutely, he did. PNUK. Absolutely, he did. He's never been committed. Susan may be a great defensive midfielder, but where are the goals coming from? Fair point, Wolfgang. Absolutely fair point. Sander picks those passes that create chances. Illy created and finished them. What are we going to do now? 10 behind the ball and hoof it to Asula. It's not like you to be negative. Listen, you've got to trust us. Listen, if it comes to the 1st of September and we haven't brought in decent players, I'm all for let's have a chat then and see if we're still unhappy. But listen, long way to go yet. 3 weeks is a long time in football. I hate the Sander is inconsistent line. Sorry. Good players often are. Illy wasn't. What do you want a team of Monty and Osborne running around like headless chickens to be putting a shift in? Ozzy, no. Monty, no, don't rate them. I just want grafters. I want people who are fighting for the shirt. I want people who are up and down, box to box. Might not have the absolute peak ability, but give everything they can for Sheffield United. I want a George Baldock. If we had 10 outfield George Baldocks, I'd be a very happy man. That's exactly what I'm after, G-Blade. So thank you for allowing me to clarify. But Illiman weren't inconsistent, were he? Anel's not very inconsistent, I won't say. George isn't inconsistent. I don't agree. But you're entitled to your opinion. Outdoor Adventures Dave says, as long as they have someone lined up to replace him, can't believe the timing of it. Absolutely. Oh no, it's a nightmare, isn't it? It's an absolute nightmare. 4 of our first 6 games at home, 3 winnable. We should have been better prepared. It's got to be better, Jimmy. It has, Ian. It has. There's no getting around it. It's been poor. We're certainly not ready for match day 1, are we? We need some steel and creativity in midfield. If we could keep Sander and build around him, it would be ideal, but it doesn't look that way. So cash in and strengthen. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. We're in a poor position, says Lee, squad-wise currently, and the business on incoming has been slow, and we're massively lacking numbers and quality before the weekend. Let's judge the business on September the 1st. Absolutely right, Lee. Absolutely right. Michael Fisher, Burnley, why leave the mighty to go to Burnley? Nothing like taking a step back, let him go. Listen, I get Burnley are quite a trendy club at the minute in a lot of ways. They're quite riding crest of a wave. They've got Vincent Kompany who adds that sort of class to them, if you like. But we're a much bigger club than Burnley, and I won't listen. We're not a Leeds United. We don't try and pretend to be bigger than we are, but we're bigger than Burnley. We're bigger than Burnley, and I think it's short-sighted of him to be going to somebody who's at least on a par, if not lower than us. But anyway, the burger disrespect I am seeing is mental. He's by far our best player. He is now. I'll give you that. I'm not against selling him, but I've seen some people buzzing about this deal and happy he's going, which is mental. No, I think it's justified. I think he splits opinion, and I'm all for people having their own opinion, and you can completely justify why you think he's our best player. But for me, way too inconsistent. He's a luxury player in our team, and at our level, the battles we're going to be up against, we can't afford luxury players. We can't. Unlike Illiman, Sander is replaceable, says Paul. Shame we couldn't sign Tillman. PSV got him for 1 million sign-on fee, season-long loan and option to buy for 12 to 14 mil. Fair dues. So we're going to be outbid out with the players. It'll have happened earlier on in the season with players we hadn't even heard about. Next 3 weeks are now huge for the club. The immediate and also long-term future of the club, says Lee. Absolutely right. What's the Norway manager going to make of him going to Burnley, says Ollie. Absolutely right. Is the Sousa deal nearly confirmed? Jimmy says, now then, Blades. It's progressing well, but it's not done yet. It's not done yet. There's a couple of bits to iron out. But it's progressing well, I'd say. Let's hope we try and sign Gustavo Hamer because he's a classy operator. I would love Gustavo Hamer. Absolutely love Gustavo Hamer. Ian agrees 100%. You two lads, Jack and Matt, unbelievable. He's Norwegian, plays 5 good games in a season. So I'll drive you to Burnley for that reason. It's Sanderberg. Yes. And we are talking. And we are. The Bladesman with a super chat. Thank you, my friend. Is there talks of a swap deal with Everton and Jebo? No, not on the cards. I heard that murmured. But no. I heard it murmured in the reports, but it's not going to happen. No. Thank you for your super chat. Very much appreciated. All goes into the garage rebuild, the eventual studio setup. We will get there one day, I promise. We've never been starting a season so unprepared at every level. It's a massive opportunity missed. Only one result and we're going down. Only one result, we're going down. You need to have your players in early, not leaving it so late. Can't argue with you, Matthew. We have massively left it too late. dilly-dallying, and do they really need Berger, or are they going to see the opportunity to weaken a relegation rival? Probably both. He improves them, doesn't he? He gets in their side, and he weakens us. So it's probably double bubble for a minute. Opens the doors if it opens the doors to Sousa and a Doyle, then we're better off. His head has been turned at every international break. Correct, Liam. He's in good advanced position. He's good in advanced positions, not in a dogfight, and that's exactly what we're going to be in. Is Jemison going as well, Jimmy? Not if he's injured. We've heard he's injured at the moment, haven't we? We've just heard somebody comment and say that, so that may well affect it. I know it were ultimately down to whether he signed a contract here, and we were willing to sell him if he refused to sign. A little bit like Sander. Don't just panic, Blades. I'm confident we'll get players. We will, Adam. We absolutely will, pal. Absolutely will. What's the new lads going to think about this? Looking like they've come to a club in crisis. I don't think so. You're right, Carl. In a lot of ways, it's not a good look, and I'm not going to try and make out like it is and try and spin it in any other way. But it don't mean they'll regret coming. You know, somebody like Traore, who we've plucked him out of Sweden. Somebody like Trusty, who's said it's always been in his ambition to play in Premier League. Well, he's doing it now, isn't he? Premier League football is a huge attraction. We'll still be able to get players in. Kyle again, wonder what Solbakken has to say about it. He's Norway manager, isn't he? Jimmy Rumours doing the rounds regarding a bad injury to Jebo. Have you heard anything? This could affect his self. We just touched on it, Lee. I've only heard in comments here that he's injured. I hope it's not true. It will affect the sale if he's injured, won't it? It will definitely affect it because Everton won't buy an injured player. It won't pass a medical. So we'll see. Maybe more news to come out about that. Berger has delusion party, partly fed by his national manager and rubbing shoulders on international duty with Haaland, Odegaard. He isn't the same class as them. Absolutely right. Absolutely right, Ian. He's not going to City, is he? Not going to Arsenal. Unbelievable. From what I see, we're preparing for the Championship, expecting the worst, hoping for the best. Might be right, pal. Might be right. Sander leaving has been a long time coming. It makes sense from a financial perspective. However, it's awful timing. Can't argue. Cannot argue. We'll have to start flying through some of these guys, I'm afraid. Got to remember on Saturday, no matter the result, stay behind the lads and Becky. Yeah, I'm sure Becky she could do with our support as well, Sean. They'll just be as frustrated as us and don't deserve any stick. Absolutely right. I agree. Carl says Anel next. Anel's going nowhere, pal. Don't you worry about that. Evening, Youngie. One of our newest ramblers. Thank you, pal. Glad I worked from home today. WhatsApp has been on fire. There's been so many messages in that group, aren't there? So I can't keep up. I cannot keep up. We shouldn't be selling to Burnley. Take a bit less cash and let him go abroad. It depends what he said, doesn't it? If he said he wants to go to Burnley, I don't get it. Jimmy, fancy going the Blades first team this year? No, Gabe, we're not that desperate. The worry for me, says David, is getting the team to gel. Doesn't matter who we get, and if the team doesn't gel. If they don't want to be here, get rid. My heart goes out to Hecky trying to keep us up like this. Absolutely right. Absolutely right, it does. Yeah, we're in a tricky spot, aren't we? Lee says he's finding it tough to get excited about this season. Just feels like players aren't happy at the club. You could see it at the game. Ozzy, Baldock, Benny, and Asula seem like the only ones giving 100%. It's worrying, isn't it? Evening, Rich. Sanders, more games below par than world beating, so I won't lose sleep. I'm trusting Hecky and the club have targets ready. Keep up the good work, Jimmy. Thank you, pal. Much appreciated. If the issue with Doyle has been the wage reduction, why would this sale mean that he's going to accept one as a result of this sale? Fair point, Kyle. Fair point. And it doesn't have to be Doyle, does it? He's just an example we're using. It's the wage reduction is non-negotiable. It has to be. We're doing all this for future at club. You can't pay somebody 60 grand a week in Premier League and keep them on 60 in Prem because in Championship because it's just not sustainable. Oh, sorry, mate. I'll just put that comment up twice. It's come through twice. It's a very long season. There's going to be ups and downs for every team. I think we're going to struggle early on, but once the new boys get settled in and Eki does his thing, I think we'll be okay. Absolutely right. Absolutely right, pal. Do you think we'll get a sell on? Yeah, I do. I think we'd be daft not to, but we try to do that on every deal, don't we? So it would make sense to get a sell on. Hey, Sarah, I am Jimmy, always positive. Not today. I'm seriously worried about the situation. I do agree that if Sander wants to go, we should let him, but Burnley, hell no. Absolutely. That's where I am, to be honest, Sarah. That's where I don't get it. I don't know how many times I can say it. I don't. Just perplexing. We need 2 centre midfielders before we let him go. Looking at long term, well, a bad August results wise, we'll struggle to get good players in. We will, mate. We will. That's a concern as well. I feel really sorry for Eckingbottom, says Nige. I wouldn't be surprised if he walked. He won't walk. I'd be amazed if he walked. Forest will not let O'Brien come to us. Is it true? And also, Akpom still on the? Akpom's definitely still on the radar. Definitely. Forest will let O'Brien come to us. They have to sell him. I'm sure they do because he's not in their plans and they're strapped for cash from what we hear, or certainly on borderline FFP. But they'll make him overpriced for us. Ben says here, Sheffield United have never been built off superstars. Sander can go and let's make an 11 full of grafters who want to graft and make the lane a pit from hell to come to. Absolutely right. That's exactly what we are in it. That's what we are as a club, grafters. My question is, what on earth is the club doing 5 days out? People are laughing at us. It does seem we're asset stripping. I know, Mo. I know that's how you feel. Not bothered. He's not world class. Better out there for me. Absolutely right. I agree. What happens comes to last minute and we can't get the players in. What happens then? It's the risk we're running into. We'll get somebody in, but we want to get the right players in. Not seeing enough of many of the players we're being linked with. We've just got to put our faith in Eki in the recruitment department to bring in what we need. Absolutely right, Lee. Absolutely right, mate. I am flying through these now to catch up, and then we're going to have to wrap it up, guys, I'm afraid, because I can go on for a long time, as you know. Hopefully we'll push for an overinflated fee for Sander. Absolutely, we need to, don't we? But we've got money to spend now, so money isn't the main driver. It's getting the quality in, isn't it? Can't get his mindset either. Brentford, Liverpool, Brighton could even understand. Brighton you could even understand, but he must know something we don't. He must do, yeah. He must. Barmy. They're not even a cash-rich club. Yes, he gambled everything in January, but it now feels like he's pressed the cash out button. The Prince you're referring to, I assume there, Luke, mate. What is the attraction of Burnley? Definitely not the weather or culture. Surely a top European club or top 6 Prem club would be better, but it depends on how highly he rates himself. Absolutely. Or what they're offering him. Or what his agent's saying to him. Yeah, absolutely. If he's off to Burnley, how bad must things be at Sheffield United? Absolutely, says Mike. Valley Blade, good riddance. Not a man I'd want to be in the trenches with. Absolutely right. Absolutely, Valley Blade. We're bang on with that. Great going forward, but flat-footed and lacklustre in defence. I can't disagree. According to Alan Nixon, Susan's having a medical tomorrow if all goes well. Alan Nixon sometimes shoots and scores, sometimes shoots and it's next door's crossbar. Lewis O'Brien is like a cootsy sort of player. I like that reference. It's not too bad. And he didn't do too bad in the red and white, did he? Old never gives the ball away. Is the Sousa fee as much as 10.3 million euros? Don't know, to be honest. Don't know how much we're bid. Onwards and upwards, really hope we get Sousa. Desperate for that type of player. Agree, Paul. I think he'd be ideal for us. Rhodesy, welcome, pal. I get the vision in selling, but chuff me, timing is suicidal. Fans were going to be a secret weapon in what was already going to be a difficult season. Refuse to believe we haven't anticipated a backlash. Absolutely. I agree. But Rhodesy, come 1st of September, we've been up and down, like I've already said, haven't we? All winter. And if we get decent, if we end up signing, say, Akpom, Doyle, O'Brien, and 2 loan players that are really strong, people are positive again, aren't they? I would be. It's worrying that these players are going to be coming into a deflated team, angry fan base, and daunting fixture. Well, I don't think daunting fixture list. Certainly not first off, but the rest of it I agree with, pal. I do. Thanks for the rambles, Jimmy. Always make me more optimistic. Thank you, Tim, and thank you for supporting us, mate. It means an awful lot. It does. And that's what we're here for, isn't it? Just to sort of try and... We try to go for the chilling out with your mates in a pub vibe and just talking it out. Just seeing, you know, can we sort of come to some sort of logical conclusion here? There's a lad in League One called Illiman and Die. I go all out for him. League. Absolutely. Cheeky bid for Kasper Schmeichel would be nice. I heard us linked with Kasper Schmeichel in the papers, but I've not heard anything mentioned directly about it. By Doyle, Akpom, Souza, Lone, McAtee, and Archer. All is forgiven you, Hein. Archer. Don't get me back on Archer, because, oh my God, we could have Akpom and Archer up front. That would have been amazing, wouldn't it? But he's not coming. He's not coming, is he? I'm trying to forget about that. 707 were watching. We've dropped considerably because I ramble on. But listen, that's what we're here to do, innit? Give Jimmy a like. Thank you, pal. Appreciate that, Chris. Subscribe if you like what we do. Really appreciate it. We're getting there now. We're getting there. And I'm going to start wrapping up, don't you worry. Jake Ball. I nearly called you Jake Bell because my cursor were over it. But thank you, mate. Thank you very much and welcome to the Ramblers Club. You are very much appreciated and welcome. It's very much appreciated. Wonder if Sanders' agent is sat in the chat. Yeah, maybe so. Listen, if you are Sanders' agent and you can get me a deal on something, sort me out, mate. I'm all for mercenaries. That's what I'm all about. Not an happy chap. Oh, no. Hi, Jimmy, says Dave. Up the blades. Wrong timing. If he wants to go, let him get a stronger squad with 5 or 6 extra players. I don't think we'll get 5 or 6 extra. But yeah, I know what you mean. I think Saturday's going to be painful, says new Rambler Jake. I'm keeping the faith in the management and the recruitment that we can have a strong into the window. Me too, pal. Me too. At least we got the kits on time. Kyle. Have we looked at Hamer? I'm not sure because it's not been mentioned officially, but he would fit in our budget and he fits the profile, doesn't he? What is he, 24? So maybe a touch older than we'd like. But listen, I think Hamer's exactly the sort of player we need right now, isn't he? Let's be right. Just to pick the fans up. It's just how much would it cost with him coming from Cov? Why would anyone sign a contract at this point? We're weaker than when we went up. And our reported budget tells people we have no ambition. Budget's very healthy now. Very healthy. Probably too healthy for us to be buying from other clubs. And also, there's first team opportunities there now, isn't there, for players? So there's different ways of spinning it, Steve. And I'm not saying you're wrong for your point of view either, because it's fair. Love Sanders, says Susan, but not had a shot at strutting his stuff in the Prem. He's untested at that level week in, week out. Absolutely right, he is. Brian, thank you, pal. Very much appreciated. Welcome. And thank you for your support. Right, how many more have we got? Because we're coming to the end now. Chris says, come on, people, like this content. Do you know, me ramblers, they're the best out there. Absolutely the best. Skiddy. Super chat, it's all going to be all right. Brewster knocking in 20. Do you know what, Skiddy? Thank you very much for this super chat, by the way. Do not sleep on Ryan Brewster. Ryan Brewster, I have every faith he could come good. Every faith he could come good. So fingers crossed. I'll just knock off these last few comments and then we'll try and chill for the evening. What do you reckon? Aaron says Hamer would be excellent. Absolutely right, it would be. Hamer and Schmeichel. Akpom would be. Schmeichel, I think, is... What is he, 35 now? 35? About 35 million in sales. Get Souza, Doyle, a goalkeeper, Akpom, loan Ahmad and Palmer, and then we comfortably come 13th. Look, Ahmad and Palmer, they might be realistic prospects on loan. And if we get them in, come deadline day, Rhodesy lads all up again, isn't he? And like rest of us, brilliant. Absolutely right. Blade Runner says, people forget the Blades have that super all-rounder, Bramall Lane, who's consistent every match. Bang on. It's all about us getting behind the team in it now. Whatever happens. Wonder what Brownie and Tongy are up to, says Adam. Absolutely right. Sean, you don't have to do that, mate. You already contribute to the channel. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Very much appreciated. New keeper, Michael Cooper. Get him in. match and location. You are talking my language. Top one again, Jimmy. Fingers crossed we get more than Sousa. Yeah, thank you, pal. Thanks for your contributions. I know we don't always agree, but you're more than entitled to your opinion. Amos 26 and only has a year left at Cov. Deal could be done, says like I didn't know he was that old, but it's not old, is it? But if he's a year left, let's test him. I don't see a downside to it. Anyway, thank you very much for everybody in the comments. I hope this shirt don't look too tight on screen, by the way, because it's absolutely, it's like it's painted on, but it's class. It's from the Ramble merch and what have you. And to get it to be a fitting size, don't forget my personal trainer app. There's a link in the description for that as well if you want to do the Ramble reset with us in terms of our weight loss challenge. I'm going on holiday in a couple of weeks. And when I come back, I think it's first week in September. Might be back on 2nd. So the following Monday, that's when we're starting. If you want to sign up to that, you're more than welcome. Anybody that wants to join the Ramble, you're always welcome. But please do subscribe if you enjoy the content because it massively helps us out. We are the fastest growing YouTube channel in the Sheffield United space. Not that there's loads of us about, but I like that sort of moniker. We are growing rapidly, and I really appreciate the support. But we need to keep growing, don't we? We need to keep, getting more eyes on the channel, so we can do more content and do more things. So thanks very much for your time, everybody. Come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades.